Ladies and gentlemen, variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. It's just a duo today, but people might show up later, but, we'll see. My name is Rotten Deadite. Yes?
I was going to say it's a select cast today.
Oh, hey, that's really good, yeah. My name is Rotten Deadite. With me today is...
I am James, also known as Aramithius.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Vaermina, the last of the Daedric Princes that we're doing, unfortunately, but a goodie, especially for a podcast that can't stop talking about Jung. So Vaermina is the Prince of Dreams and Nightmares, also known as the Gifter, the Lady of Nightmares, the Weaver of Dreams, the Weaver of Panoply, and the Dark Lady, and that's actually a shorter list than you usually get for some Daedric lords, but yep. There we go. I should say that Vaermina is generally portrayed as, let's say, a negative force of like nightmares, really. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Getting into dreams with her is something that doesn't really seem to happen. You're always trying to stop her. There's indications of rituals that are basically prayers that are said before bed in order to placate her and ensure that you have nice dreams and stuff.
Yeah.
There's no kind of there's no kind of thing for horny teenage adolescents to say Vaermina, come and bring me fantastic lusty dreams.
Make things interesting.
Yeah.
Which which is fine because that's basically you worship gods for, I'm gonna say several reasons, but I'm gonna start this list right now off the top of my head, which is you pray that they will bring you favor. Mm-hmm. You can pray to a god in thanks for the things that the god has done for you already, and you can pray to a god to keep them off your back. Yeah. And frequently, for example, in Lovecraftian lore, you get the last one. You get we're going to pray to this god so that this god leaves us alone, or we're going to pray to this god because it's the only option because it's going to come and eat us all. So we're hoping maybe it won't eat the ones that we're praying, but we really don't know, and this is all we've got.
Yeah, let's throw stuff against the wall and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, we're just gonna sacrifice a bunch of crap and screw it. We're all gonna die. All right, here we go. So Vaermina's shown up in a little bit of every game. I'm trying to see. I don't remember there being a thing with her in ESO. Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. She's a big part of the plots of Wayrest.
Yes, that's right.
So on. Yeah, corrupting knightly orders and such. That was kind of one thing that kind of left me scratching my head. It's this fantastic portrayal of what a Vaermina cult is and what sort of an insidious threat they can be.
Right.
But what's the kind of the end game for the supernal dreamers in that sense? I don't see, because everyone falls asleep. Everyone gets trapped in Vaermina's realm, and then what? It's almost like a suicide death cult rather than
it could be, yeah,
with actual political aims, despite all the political maneuvering to start with. So it doesn't strike me as a sensible organization, if you like. Mm-hmm. Not one that seems to have an end game in mind, which is perfectly fine, I guess. Because it could just be, let's just wreak whatever havoc we can and bring something let's bring a kingdom to its knees because we're Daedra and that's what we do.
It's what we do.
But it's not really the best advert for Vaermina either.
Yeah. Most Daedra have something to offer people. Molag Bal has whatever you need Molag Bal for. Mehran's Dagon has, revenge or destruction or the worship of chaos, or in the case of the not Crimson Dawn, not Golden Dawn.
Mythic Dawn.
Wow, that took a minute. In the case of the Mythic Dawn, you're in a way, worshipping the rightful ruler of Tamriel is how it would be suggested. Yep. And Yeah, and these things make sense, but in Vaermina's case, I can definitely understand sacrificing or worshiping or saying a prayer to Vaermina for her to leave you alone so you can have a decent night's sleep. But the only thing that I remember from reading about Vaermina that struck me as as like an exchange was the idea that or a service that Vaermina can offer is the idea of almost sort of like the plot from Inception of leaving ideas behind in people's dreams that inspire them to do things in real life.
Yep. It goes a little deeper than that, actually, because you have the Dreamwalkers, and there's literally a concoction that they have called Vaermina's Torpor, which puts you into someone else's dream. And so you can go around and fix things. And there's ESO's introduced the concept of Dreamwalkers, who are basically Vaermina cultists that act like hypnotherapists, that basically walk you through your trauma and just obliterate it. I don't know if anyone's in chat's heard of the book called The Binding, but in that case, it's the idea of books get written as you kind of recount a traumatic experience and it gets wiped from your memory.
Right.
Dreamwalkers seem to be doing a similar thing. That they go into people's dreams and basically fudge with your subconscious until you forget what it was that's made you so traumatized anymore. And the particular author then goes into all the speculations of, well, am I really the same person anymore?
Right.
Because I've had these parts of my memories and everything that's been taken from me just extracted and cut out. So that's kind of a service they can provide. Absolutely. You can have nice, amenable Vaermina cultists and so on, which is
sure,
kind of an interesting way of looking at it.
I think so too. There's actually there's hypnotherapy definitely comes to mind because of the connection between meditation and dream states, which are, I say connection, they're very connected. You could say that it's very possible to argue that they're separate operating modes of the brain, but getting into a meditative state moves the brain into an operation very similar to a higher level version of dream state. So as neurologists are discovering, the way that the brain, God help me, thinks is in when you're in a meditative self-induced trance has similarities to what it's like when you're dreaming and just unconscious, right? So one of the so the reason why hypnotherapy like EMDR works as well as it does is because it allows you to access memories with the clarity that you can recall them in your dreams, but you can't recall them when you're awake. It's also way more complicated than that, but that's an extremely simplified way of looking at things. So, I mean, I can't really... All right, everybody get your bingo cards out. So, Jung actually talks a lot about dream state in the way that early psychologists did, which was valid at the time. But these days we know more about it. So Jung lent, I think, a lot more. Well, I definitely would say Freud lent a lot more credibility to what you experience in dreams. But I think it would be a little bit helpful to sort of discuss the purpose that dreams play in neuroscience, which is way more complicated than I'm qualified to really talk about. But I do know a little bit about it.
Really? I was going to say, you're going to anyway.
Yeah. Oh no, I've never once stopped in this podcast about talking about things I don't know anything about. So in neuroscience, in very plain language, dreams are both a function and a hallucination. They're both they serve a purpose, but intrinsically they may, and also I should also add that the science is not super thick on this yet. This is still stuff that people are discovering. That you don't have Jung on your card? I'm sorry, Doc. Maybe that should be the centerpiece now. Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, more Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind than Scientology. Scientology is more about lying. So what dreams can have, what you experience when you dream can have a lot of meaning, but rarely is it ever about what you dreamt about. So
Yeah.
Jung and wow. Oh my God.
Not Freud. I do know.
Yeah, Freud. Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
must be tired or something. Oh, hey, a third person. Felix, thank God.
Yes.
What? I didn't get a notification, and I just saw when I was like, okay, well, like I guess it's not happening. And then when I'm on Twitch, I see Rotten Dead. I'm like, the fuck.
Thank Google Calendar for that one.
Yeah.
So, Freud definitely, and to a certain degree, Jung, would ask people about their dreams, and they would do dream interpretation, which is sort of a pseudoscience now, or considered to be a pseudoscience. And they would talk about, well, you know, this thing that you're experiencing in your dream, like, you know, the fact that you're constantly envisioning you putting your cigar, taking your cigar out of your mouth and putting it into and hiding it in your mother's handbag, is what in fact the cigar represents your penis, your mother's handbag represents her vagina, and you want to have sex with your mother. Which
Freud was kind of obsessed with that stuff.
Yeah.
that usually came up a lot, it seems like, with Freud. But Freud was convinced, and Jung was convinced, that our psychological relationship with our parents was incredibly vital to a person's development. And honestly, the opinion in modern psychology has changed about how that works, but it still kind of agrees. So there's, it's just we get there by different roads, and which is very relevant. We do need a dick joke, Spock. Yeah. So in the
Pretty
case
sure that
of,
could fall under like free space.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Community chest. When Jung and Freud would do dream interpretation, they would talk about they would think very literally about the things you were experiencing. What we know now about the way people dream is that, generally speaking, if people aren't recalling actual memories of actual events that they've had, then they are recalling emotions or events that happened when they had a similar emotion to what they've been feeling in the past. Because a lot of what the brain does when we're unconscious is it processes information. It sort of defragments your hard drive. It chews on ideas and emotions and inspirations, and it tries to sort things out and make sense of what's going on in your life, which is frequently why...
Question then, Professor.
Yeah.
How do we explain people like me where we have quote unquote dreams that are just like banal instances of something happening in life, and then those events actually happen anywhere from weeks or months or years in the future?
Well, two things. I have those too. And I wish to God I'd have some about something that was interesting and useful, and it never is.
Or like, lottery winning numbers. That'd be useful.
Something, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, don't go downtown this month or you'll get shot, something. But no, it's always, I don't know. I'm looking at houses or something like something stupid. But Jung and Freud actually thought that people could have like prescient dreams. But what we're beginning to realize, studying people who are recalling these events, who claim to have prescient dreams, is that they are either what they think is a memory of the event is actually that event being generated in their head at that time and being tagged, if you will, or flagged as a memory. So you think you've had that dream. So like months later or something like that, when you're walking around going, oh my God, I had a dream about this. In fact, you didn't have a dream about it. It's just that your brain is telling you did. And
but that happened in the past. So like what, time travel? Like I don't.
No, it's that your brain has artificially created a memory of you having this dream.
But it did that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, it didn't do it in the past. It did it in the present.
Yeah,
It's
because
just,
you don't remember every single dream that you've had, so you only remember having the dream when it becomes relevant to your present.
but except you didn't have the dream, is what they're
Exactly.
hypothesizing. What they're
Yeah.
hypothesizing is that your brain has decided in that moment that you had that dream a month ago or something. And so that experience that you're having as you, like, you're playing it back in your head, like, I remember, and then I remember walking down that hallway I was just in, and then I had that conversation. I had a dream about this. That is an experience that you're having in real time. But because of the way the brain has colored that experience, you feel like it's something that you had, that it was a dream that you had a long time ago.
Yeah.
The reason why one of the many reasons why scientists think this is happening is because when they ask people to do dream logs, who have these sort of like what they think is like deja vu or prescient dreams, they stop having those dreams. Or if they do have them, they don't write them down in the log. So,
Okay, but then like that doesn't make sense because one of these dreams that I had was about having a conversation in a computer lab and would look like this very old computer lab.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, that's weird because like I'm not in school at the moment, and this was like, I don't know, 2012 ish. Like I just, or like 2011, I just graduated college. And then that event actually happened like 2 years later in 2014 when I went to teach in Spain. Now, obviously, I'd never been to Spain before that point in time. So it's like, so what the hell was that about?
yeah, the problem is that your brain has basically created that memory of you having that dream. That's the theory.
Okay, but then again, it's like I had that memory of that dream
That's
years
your
before
recollection.
it happened.
Yeah, you remember that happening. Yeah.
Before the event happened.
But the theory that the neuroscientists are working on here is that they're experimenting with is that your memory of having that dream is not accurate.
Even though it happened before the event.
Yeah. No,
How the fuck does that work in the brain,
not that the dream isn't accurate. Your memory of the dream is not
Yeah,
accurate.
the memory of your dream, of what you remember the dream as being, has changes to match what your experience is, and because you have no reference point other than the memory, you've got no way of verifying whether it was what you saw, what you had experience you had in the dream, or whether it's something your brain made up on the fly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the only way that they've been able to determine to prove this definitively is if people keep dream logs, relatively accurate logs of what they dreamt about, and then at a later date, they go through that experience in real life, and then go back, find the log, and go, here, look, boom, there it is. I dreamt that I was going to buy a blue, Ferrari Testarossa for no good reason. And there it is.
Okay, but like I've done that. That's the thing. Like I've had dream logs, and then some of them actually happen. That's why I'm like,
okay,
that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the only reason why I'm like concerned about some of the dreams, because I'm like, that feels suspiciously accurate. And for me, I've always been able to do two things. So basically, and I'm glad I'm here for this because I can talk about some of this dream stuff with Vaermina, Daedric Prince of Dreams and Nightmares, and all that good jazz. One of the things that I figured out when I was actually very young, like early teens, was that I would have various dreams, and initially it was hard to tell them apart. Some were kind of like what I told you, these sort of visions of just something banal, like I'd be at school and someone would say, hey, can I borrow your pencil? Oh yeah, sure. Here you go. And that was a dream, right? And then there'd be a different dream where it's like, oh man, I hope the Martians don't attack. We have a class next week. Like, and that was obviously fake. And so I started to try and focus and realize, like, especially after some of these events start to actually happen, I want to try and create a distinction in my head of, okay, what's a dream and what is a vision, for lack of a better term, or prediction, what do you want to call it? And this actually weirdly made it so that I've always been lucid dreaming ever since. So I never have a dream where I'm not in control. It just feels like I've been implanted into my body in the dream, and it's, oh, this is dream time now. Where's the dream taking me? Oh, I don't like this direction. Let's change it. Or nope, you know what? I'm out. And like, I wake myself up. Somehow, so I'm always lucid dreaming. But when I have these visions, I'm not aware of that. And I can't control what's happening around me. Those are the distinctions that I've been able to make.
Okay.
If I'm lucid dreaming, I'm aware that I'm dreaming, and I can decide whether I want to participate or yank myself out if it's getting too frustrating, scary, personal, etc. With the visions, whatever, just vision is shorthand for whatever you want to call it. I can't do that.
Mhm.
And sometimes they're very clear, other times they're like almost like shapes and shadows.
Mhm.
Those I might be more inclined to be like, oh, that might be the sort of brain registering it as memory kind of thing. But the other ones where it's a very clear, like, for example, one that I had recently, and we'll use this as a timestamp to see if this actually happens in the future, and hopefully it can become part of a science thing. But one of these visions that I had recently was I'm in some kind of house with a computer that's against a white wall, and I'm, taka 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 typing for something, like I'm clearly sending a message to someone, and I also have this feeling of being somewhat flustered. So, I'm busy or something's happening, kind of like that.
Mhm.
There's light coming in from, these, I guess, I don't know if it's like a screen door, floor to ceiling windows. That part, that's the blurry edge of the dream, but light is coming in from outside. And I'm doing taka taka taka, and then I hear daddy, and I turn, and there's like this little gremlin child all covered with like different costumes and stuff that needs help, like taking some of the layers off or making things fit. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay. And then that's where it ends.
Mhm.
So if this happens in the future,
Mhm.
this will be an interesting case study. But
Sure.
that's an example of one where I can clearly remember not all the details, but enough to sort of construct, like, this is what I'm doing at this point in time, and I'm not really in control. It's just like, hi Felix, welcome to Dream Vision. Here's your random selection dream for today. And I'm like, wait,
Uh-huh.
what? And then it ends, and I'm like, what the hell was
What
that?
the
I couldn't
crap
even
was
control
this?
it. I couldn't go back and be like, wait, no, go back,
Felix.
pause, hyper focus.
I have to go
Whereas
back.
in my actual dreams, I can do that, where it's like, wait, no, hang on. It's like back up in the dream. That's a fucking techno silt strider. I came up with that. That is awesome.
Mhm.
All right, continue with the dream. And like,
Yeah.
that I can do. So for
Mhm.
me, there's that distinction. So now we'll
Mhm.
see if this happens years from now.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
keep writing that stuff down.
Mhm.
It's critical.
Yeah, that's I don't know whether lucid dreams exist within the Elder Scrolls though, just to nail things back down, simply because Vaermina is involved in the process. Would
And also the very nature of existence in the Elder Scrolls universe anyway.
Yeah.
The
Well,
idea
Chim
of
is
being
supposed.
awake has a very different meaning.
Yeah, the state
Yeah.
of Chim is supposed to be a lucid dream. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
the godhead, or the Amaranth, excuse me, experiencing the dream lucidly, realizing what's actually going on, and then keeping itself in the dream afloat instead of just zero summing and dissipating. And which is what I wanted to, which is the reason why I brought this up, is I wanted to explain that, like, the brain, it uses the dream state, or the state that it operates in during which you dream, generally speaking, as a way to work through the emotion or the memory of stuff that's been happening to you, which is the reason why, if many of you out there have dreams where you're in front of a bunch of people naked, or stuck back at school, or standing in line at the DMV or something like that,
I'm so
and
glad I've
you're
never had
wondering,
those dreams.
and you're wondering why you keep having those dreams over and over again, one thing that will help you make it through these, what they call stress dreams, is thinking about the emotion that you're having during the dream, especially when you wake up, when the memory of the dream is still left in your head. Think about the emotion that you're experiencing, and then think about what in your life is making you feel that way. And frequently you'll find that there is something that you are trying to work out in real life that makes you feel very similar to the way you do in that situation in your dream. And that's because your brain, as you're sleeping, is trying to emotionally work out how it feels about something.
I have a relevant point to that. That's also arguably kind of dark. Near the end of high school, I was having a lot of dreams where, like, various classmates and friends of mine were basically being killed, hunted down, murdered in some way. So either like there's the mob and they're after us for some reason, or it's like a reimagined Jurassic Park and slowly we're all dying. And I very quickly realized after like the first three of like, wait, why am I dreaming about all that, and I'm realizing that that was my subconscious saying, hey, you're reaching the end of your time with a lot of these people, and so your emotional connection to these people is going to be severed. They're basically going to be dead to you in some way. And this is, your dream, your subconscious telling you that, and perhaps preparing for that in the sense of, oh yeah, this guy who we were good, what I like to call class or hallway friends with, I haven't seen or heard from him since, but and he was one of the people who died in the dream, right? So
yep, very accurate. And so as Owain is
but
caught
like I said,
on
kind of dark, right? Like you're dreaming of your friends and classmates dying.
Well,
it's like
we're about to get darker. We're about to get darker. As Owain has pointed out in chat, the emotion that that Anu is going through in his dream, in other words, in the reality of the Arbus, is the betrayal of Padme. And so the repetition of the enantiomorph is the memory, the emotional memory of the event that caused Anu to dream in the first place.
Which is a traumatic event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is this traumatic event that Anu is trying to fix in his head, but because he's, in a way, well, any number of reasons, he's Anu, and is therefore incapable of changing himself, or any other reason you can think. I mean, there's lots of valid reasons. That situation is not resolving itself. The ending of Coda is supposed to be symbolically Anu's dream finding resolution by leaving it, by starting a new dream where that trauma does not exist.
Anu.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Anu. And there you go, Archmage. That's why I'm here. And so all the hatred of the Elnathe versus the Wandering Elnathe, all of these things are just a repetition of the original trauma that has caused this. Let's see.
Where did Vaermina sit in any of that?
That's exactly what I'm trying to get at.
Vaermina doesn't seem to be any kind of way to. She's not kind of the helper of Anu's dream in any sense.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I've been trying to circle around to. I just wanted to explain why I was bringing it up. Is that if what I'm suggesting is this: if in real life we use dreams to process intellectual and emotional memory or whatever, why do people dream in the Elder Scrolls universe? Does it serve a similar function, or are dreams in the Elder Scrolls universe, because the Elder Scrolls universe is in and of itself a dream, a hallucination, and because metaphor is reality, and etc., are dreams much more than that, or are they less than that, and so on? And what I would suggest is that there are a hell of a lot more than that, and it's one of the things I'm about to suggest is that Vaermina is actually the Daedric Prince with the most potential to be absolutely devastating to the Arbus. But
I would agree with that. And to answer your question, I think that yes, dreams are more than that, and in terms of the function they serve in the Elder Scrolls universe, it serves as, like, if everything is a subgradient of everything else, right? Levels beyond levels, wheels within wheels, then the purpose of dreaming, even at the lower subgradient level, is kind of like why DNA exchanges information between cells to say, hey, this is the way things work. And that's why dreams are necessary, because it's a reminder of whether, the NPCs and characters realize that or not. It is a reminder of the greater function or purpose of the dream in the Arbus, which then also gives purpose to Vaermina's realm, to perhaps bring attention to that, make some people think, to corrupt it, to change it, and not necessarily for the better, because no one really likes having nightmares. But the purpose of dreams, as you said before, in terms of real world study, have led us to begin to interpret dreams and what they represent as a subconscious expression. And I think that still applies for what are supposed to be arguably, air quotations, human characters in the Elder Scrolls game. They experience life, love, loss, jealousy. They have you know, dreams, hopes, aspirations. They want more from life. They don't like certain people. Like it's supposed to be a human representation, and so therefore dreams should be a part of that. I think humans would have a very difficult time meeting, for example, an alien race, and they say, wait, you see things when you sleep? We just sleep and wake up. Like,
Turn off.
What are you on?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? You spend 10 hours a day doing nothing?
Although I don't, I'm always going to be contrary with that, because I don't see that with Vaermina being the thing pulling the strings in dreams. I don't see that there is that room for the subconscious processing. Vaermina is Vaermina isn't interested in necessarily working you through your trauma. I mean, there are some examples of that where Vaermina cultists will help you through it, which we've kind of talked about already.
Yep.
But that's not Vaermina's point. That's not her end goal. So I don't see that as something that's essential to dreams within the Elder Scrolls at all.
Well,
it's dreams are another mode of being. It's in the same way that oblivion is the night sky. Mortals are slipping into oblivion when they dream. It's a way of kind of breezing between Mundus and oblivion, and making things a heck of a lot more fuzzy.
Excellent, James.
Yes.
You're playing right into my point. Yes.
Exactly. Although I think potentially if we rewind the clock about what dreams are, the model of the Elder Scrolls dreams might be better, because our understanding of dreams as a reflection of our subconscious or whatever is a relatively modern thing. And most cultures throughout history have always, I don't know, I've not looked extensively into this, but yeah, most cultures throughout history have taken dreams to be an indication of something external to themselves. So is that the function that they necessarily that they could form within the Elder Scrolls? I mean, apart from Vaermina intentionally scaring the hell out of you towards whatever purpose, or potentially Vaermina's trying to induce particular emotional states for her own purposes. I saw something that happened that was being talked about in chat earlier, is that if memories and water and all that stuff is connected to dreams somehow, then having a nightmare and inducing a particular emotional state gives Vaermina a very particular type of lunar currency, if she can take your dreams away.
Right. Yeah. But so to touch on this, here's another thing then.
Just let me throw this out real quick.
Okay.
That would suggest that there's a connection between souls, which we generally what we consider to be lunar currency, and dreams, which I think is entirely reasonable. Yeah.
I mean, the dream sleep is a thing, but this then brings me to another thing, because as we've seen in Morrowind and the Blood Moon expansion, and I think they also make it in like there's a few instances in Oblivion in some quests, I think. You have dreams and visions, and it's not Vaermina, it's people like Dagoth Ur and her scene. So
and
that also
Ball.
Right, okay. So then
Vampirism.
That also shows that, dreams as a concept are not also entirely, or rather uniquely within her realm.
Yeah, Zabogo just pointed out in chat, Morrowind starts with a dream from Azura.
Yes.
Yeah, and
you have traveled far from the Imperial City.
Yes,
Many
Mom.
fall, but one remains. It's
yes, Mom.
Yeah. So
the original goth mom that everyone wanted in the 2000s.
So Arctic Chews sort of said that Vaermina doesn't have a monopoly on dreams then. But
accurate.
Is it basically the case that dreams are in the Elder Scrolls are a reflection of the state of the soul in some way?
I would say that's exactly what I would say.
Yeah. So which means that when you become a werewolf, you will have dreams about it. When you become a vampire, you have dreams about it because it's shifting the nature of your soul. And the Vaermina is not. I was going to say not so much about dreams and nightmares as about souls, but Namira is the spirit Daedra. But unless Vaermina is just a Daedra that's learnt to hack souls particularly efficiently. It's just that this is her particular MO, and she doesn't want to let her state secrets out to anyone else, and they're kind of steadily discovering it through by accident because of what they're doing.
She's got a
James,
secret kung
I
fu
hope
and
you
she's not
realize
teaching.
what you've done. I
Yeah.
hope you realize what you've done, James, because now people are just gonna go like, taka 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 taka. I'm in, Hacker Man, or Vaermina instead.
We're in. Ooh.
Oh.
So so I just, to sort of like build up to where I'm headed with this. When you catch the clap in Morrowind, you get you get thank
Don't
you,
say
get it
things
down.
like that when I'm
Get it
trying
in
to
ya.
swallow.
All right. You get dreams from Dagoth-Ur. Dagoth-Ur shows up in your dreams and starts talking to you.
Yeah.
And I would say that this is because, as Dagoth-Ur points out, when he talks about Corpus, he says, it is not a blight, it is my house. As we've sort of discussed in previous casts, there's a suggestion that the Daedric realms in Oblivion are inseparable from their princes. Right. And I think I pointed out that they were created from the will or the minds of the Daedric princes that rule over them. There's reasons for that to not be the case. Like there's stuff about like some minor Daedra trying to take over another prince's realm as though it's something that can be done. So there are arguments against this, and I'm not saying this is a super firm theory that totally slots in with Elder Scrolls lore, but it's a fun thing to think about. If that's the case, then when you think about Dagoth-Ur's influence spreading into the Arbus from the dream that he's having, you can think about his dream taking over. Up there, James got it. You can think about his dream taking over reality. All the Amaranth's dream, Anu's dream, becomes Dagoth-Ur's dream. Little by little as it spreads, like the blight.
Mm-hmm.
And
welcome to the house of me.
Exactly. And so the idea of the Amaranth, what the Amaranth does is the Amaranth starts a new dream, right? So this connects very strongly the ideas of dreams becoming reality. And the really only difference between whether or not a Daedra can dream a Daedric plane, a new reality, and whether or not a human being or a very powerful god let's scale it down. Whether a Daedra can dream its own reality in Oblivion, or Vivec can dream her own city into reality, or if a human can dream something and make it into reality. The only difference between those three is how much air quotes power that individual has, right? So Daedra have godlike power. Vivec has pretender god power, Dagoth-Ur has god who hasn't woken up yet power. Human beings ain't got shit. and that's why a person's dream does not become reality in as far as the air quotes reality or the higher level dream that we're talking about here.
I think it's also something to do with the nature of the realm that they're in, because because of the chaotic creation that is in Oblivion. If you read the Azure Plasm, it basically talks about the creature taking shape around a Daedra and kind of forming into its own thing. I kind of imagine it a bit like a pearl, that you've got the vestige of the Daedra or the essence of the Daedra,
Sure.
and just kind of the creature then coalesces around the thing to the extent of its will, and then the bit of grit and the pearl become the same thing, and it's just a matter of the princes or the lesser Daedra having greater or lesser wills. But mortals doing that. Mortals can't do that because there's not the right type of creature. So I don't think it's necessarily related to the power of the dream, but where they are. And again, you're back to dreams in themselves being a portal to oblivion or something like that. But potentially something that picks that up. I did read some text where Vaermina is equated with the night sky and stars by her own cultists. So Vaermina pulling people into oblivion by virtue of dreams, or the dreams being the gateway to oblivion, and that all kind of fits. And also, just the thought that's just occurred to me that provides a linguistic basis for it. You say like realize your dreams, make your dreams come true in that sort of sense. If you can do that in oblivion because that's where you go when you sleep, then you're going with some sense of actually creating stuff. It's a bit of a reach, I know. I saw Deadeye's face there.
Yeah, I was going to say the only part I would disagree with was that's where you go when you dream. I would say that's maybe where you're. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say a person's mind or soul or anything goes to oblivion when they dream, but I would say that that's a good thing. I would actually like to see somebody write about what happens to mortals when they dream in oblivion, like when Mothship, pilots fall asleep at the helm. Like, does something interesting happen when they dream? But I mean, I think also, the act of influencing reality via dream has got to have something to do with how much, I guess, clout your particular soul or essence has. How much power it has, for lack of a better word. Lunar currency might be a better term, but I'm a little sketchy about mortal souls having lunar currency. But I do like the idea that mortal souls can achieve a godlike state of power, because, I mean, that's kind of what Vivek did. So
right, but Vivek also became immortal in the process, so...
Yeah, but that's the... I guess that kind of raises a question of, like, is there... I mean, it's a larger question of, is there a separation between what makes up... the stuff that makes up a mortal soul and the stuff that makes up a Daedric Prince?
Well, that's another thing that I actually wanted to bring up and get into on the nature of this sort of back and forth with you and James. I think it is somewhere that says that in order to persist in oblivion, you have to reinforce your own existence. Basically a mantra of, I exist, I exist, I exist.
I still remember how to breathe, yeah.
Yeah, so then two questions to this. One, how does that apply in terms of the soul aspect of you that is dreaming within oblivion and or the dream sleeve? And then two, does this mean that's a way for Vaermina to kill people by trapping them in oblivion and slowly wearing their soul until then they can't wake up and then they're potentially comatose or insane or something? And that kind of steps on the toes of Shea Gorath. Like, these are my two questions.
Yeah, that would actually explain what I was saying earlier, that the ESO Daggerfall quest involving Vaermina, that what's her end game there? You just, okay, let's just grab a whole bunch of lunar currency by making everyone stay in as a dream, and eventually their souls will pass to oblivion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
that's the magic word of this universe. Maybe.
my sort of
Alaka, maybe.
Well, maybe. I kind of always thought that what Vaermina was ultimately doing was collecting not entire souls, but parts of souls via dreams.
So shards.
Yeah, or just leeching little bits of energy, if you think about it that way. You know, when somebody has a dream and Vaermina invades their dream, she sort of leaves with a little chunk of their good stuff. And, you know, and that was kind of something that was bumping around in my head, but I didn't really have anything to back it up.
Okay, so...
I just couldn't figure... I was trying to figure out why Vaermina even fucking bothered invading dreams. I mean, unless it's just a very simple answer of, it's what Vaermina do, because that's what Vaermina do. I mean, you know, Mehrunes Dagon breaks shit, Vaermina invades dreams, they can't not do it, you know? Which is a reasonable thing to say. I mean, that's not a bad statement, I think.
It's also said by the Khajiit. The Khajiit version of Vaermina is basically Freddy Krueger. She's she's dead and can only exist in dreams, and goes around killing and stuff.
As usual, Khajiit get the really great ideas.
Yeah.
As usual, Khajiit have second best lore from the Red Guards, so
You mean third best Lorca's Dunmer. So
I was waiting for that. I wasn't going to be the one to say it.
that look was the look of a disappointed father. That was amazing.
yeah, well, that's my job.
I mean,
I'm the
real
disappointed
talk,
dad.
Dunmer lore is great. Khajiit lore is great.
Khajiit lore is
great
really
lore
good. Like
that is underrated is Cyrodiilic lore. That's pretty tight.
Cyrodiilic lore is getting really good too.
I mean, it was already good before, but now they're just like refining it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I'm hoping that we're gonna get some really, really juicy Redguard stuff in Elder Scrolls 6.
I would love if they would steal some of my ideas and just throw a little minor credit in there.
Yeah. I wouldn't even need credit. Fuck it, you can have it. I'm not making any money off it. And then,
no, but I would just like to be like, see, I did the thing. I
did the thing. That was me.
Yeah. I'm curious about what they'll do for Gates of Oblivion, because that's got a whole gateway to Cyrodiil. But they'll be using their whole. They'll be basically using their usual tool for reinterpreting the lore, which is to say throwing the Reachman at it. But if they want you to reconceptualize a way of thinking about something familiar, Reachman will be in there.
Yeah,
that's the way ESO works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I mean, yeah. If you want to talk about Bretons, we're just going to mention Reachman. We're not going to talk about Bretons. We're just going to talk about Reachman. And no, Biden's not in the next year. God, Owain, no.
Hey, what's happening?
Something, Owain heard something weird in chat, and I'm just like, wow. So that's, So one of the things that, like, the idea of Vaermina, like, operating in her idiom, is inevitably you get to the idea of sort of like comparing Daedric Princes as far as like power goes, which is like, it's like comic book nerds arguing about what would happen if, Mjolnir hit Captain America's shield or something. It's like, I mean, maybe we'll find out when they write it. I mean, like,
Or write it yourself. You're allowed. It's modern myth. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's also supposed to be storyline. And that's kind of what, at the end of the day, I do this a lot. I talk about, like, some Daedra have got better idioms than others. Some Daedra have got, better conceptual, better concepts than others, Vaermina's got a really good one. Having some kind of a god of dreams is very heavily prevalent in almost every culture out there. There's tons of them, and they if you've got a culture of some kind, you've probably got a god that deals directly with dreams in some way or another, or the world of dreams, or who knows.
Well, then that also then begs the question: if this is very much a universal constant for humans, then what is the evolutionary purpose of dreams?
That's something neuroscientists are trying to figure out.
And to sort of bring a counterbalancing point, I asked this sort of in the same sense as I don't know if you guys have seen this and if Chad has seen this, but every now and then you'll see some sort of creepypasta post of the uncanny valley exists to show that we had an evolutionary need to be afraid of something that looked, almost human but wasn't. So like that's kind of scary. They're imagining monsters, but the actual answer is simple. It's other hominids, Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus. It's like, that's not quite me, and me no likey. Me get sharp stick, go pointy till the red stuff come out and things stop moving. Like,
or people with, or like ancient humans with debilitating diseases, or serious psychological problems, or like physical brain damage, et cetera, et cetera. Like these are.
Exactly.
I personally think that you're exactly right, that the uncanny valley was our way of is a sort of an artifact of early neurological pattern recognition, figuring out what dangerous people look like, you know, or
Yeah,
trying
whether they're human or not.
determine that dangerous has a look, you know. I mean, as far as what purpose do dreams serve evolutionary in evolutionary terms, it's beginning to look like dreams are sort of an artifact of human pattern recognition, and depending on how unbelievably pessimistic you are, like if you've watched what was it, True Detective season 1? Did anybody in chat see True Detective season 1? There's a philosophical point that's raised by one of the main characters, which is the idea that human consciousness is a result of evolution in pattern recognition. And the idea that we individualize ourselves is because pattern recognition evolved to a point where it became advantageous for us to do so. And therefore there's nothing. Yeah, it's fantastic, Bach. It's the better one. There's a season 2 that's just total disappointment because the lead author stopped stealing, and it turns out his own ideas weren't very good. And the suggestion is that the idea of like that where people talk about, you know, the idea of a soul or self-awareness or so on is really just a result of us perceiving ourselves, you know, four-dimensionally as individuals, but in fact that this is an error in perception, and that this does not exist at all, and that dreams are actually just our brains having a bad time giving up on pattern recognition. So the dreams that we have are our pattern recognition parts of our brains making patterns and sense out of the modes that our brains are operating in when we're unconscious and not supposed to be recognizing things, and not supposed to be making patterns, and not perceiving patterns.
Okay, so then to sort of broadly sum up, it's kind of like a vestigial organ, but in the mind.
Yeah, except it's not a vestigial organ. It's incredibly relevant to our to operation as a human being. But the philosophy that was being suggested by the that was being repeated by the main character in True Detective was that it is a vestigial organ, that it is pointless. But his solution to this was that that we should stop procreating and we should all just die out. Yeah, that's where it got really grim. Was that, you know, like where you could take like a more Buddhist idea where we should all just sort of start to evolve towards this oneness of, you know, of universal perception, and that we should all break down our egos and, you know, and join together into this one harmonious, you know, intellectual entity or something, like the end of Evangelion. Or you take the True Detective route and say we should all just kill ourselves, which is, I mean, I guess you could go there.
So is that kind of the end result of lockdown then? That if we stop taking Zoom calls, we'll achieve oneness with the universe?
I don't know.
Oh my God, I'm so fucking done with lockdown.
Yeah. And it's I haven't seen season 3 yet. Yeah, I heard season 3 was good. I don't. I'm not sure that this. Well, I'll put it this way. Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I 100% agree with this idea of consciousness and self and individualization being a glitch of like the idea of a soul and our experience of experience. In other words, our perception of being a thing living inside of a body, experiencing what's happening around it, and our awareness, our self-awareness. As just being a glitch in neurologically of us that we just evolved to have, you know. Depending on the kind of mood I'm in, I'll agree with that. But because that leads you directly into the idea of, well, there is no soul, there is no God, there is et cetera, et cetera. There's no great big
Purpose?
You know, a greater reason for our existence. It's just we're just sort of just biological functions. And like I said, depending on the mood I'm in, I'll agree with that. But but for the most part, I think the best argument I have against, well, and by the way, this also comes into when people are speculating about what alien life will be like. There's a lot of people out there speculating that it may not be possible to reach a technological level at which you can leave the planet and go somewhere else without reaching this sense of self-identity. You know, that is necessary for us, for a race of beings to reach an exoplanetary existence.
Well, is self-identity necessary for the learning process? That's
right, exactly. Yeah, is it necessary from a learning process? And what some speculative fiction people have come up with is the idea that this is not, in fact, necessary, and that you can have either aliens that are more of like what you would imagine a hive mind to be like, or that you can have aliens that have evolved to a point where they don't have self-awareness and just don't leave their planet, you know. And I mean, the more that we study the way things work on Earth, the less likely that seems, because it seems very much as though you can look at the way organisms function in on this planet and map a very smooth gradient of self-awareness, you know. So it doesn't look like humans are this weird spike, this erroneous spike in the self-awareness spectrum. We're right where we ought to be, evolutionarily wise. So, you know. What does this have to do with dreams? I had a point. Yes, that the idea that in that neuroscience is suggesting that dreams are just our self-awareness subroutine, still functioning even when the rest of our perception is shut down. So, yeah. There's a long way to go for not much of a point.
I appreciate the journey.
Yes. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
much this whole cast, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Come along and you'll see,
Yeah.
and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Well, that's
It's accurate.
Yeah.
All a dream.
yeah. And
Dreamed up by a bunch of guys in a Baltimore, Maryland basement.
I also want to kind of point out that the kind of the historical function of dreams also seems to be a thing within the Elder Scrolls, as in the prophetic thing. Seems to be something within the Elder Scrolls because there is a type of Daedra associated with Vaermina that get called omens.
yes.
That's a
And
dope name.
Mm-hmm.
so my wondering with them is that are they simply just what Vaermina uses to enact her plans on Mundus insofar as she can, and so what they say becomes true because they planned it and they executed it and they did their job, or are they somehow connected with general truth telling and seeing anyway because time is wibbly wobbly in Oblivion?
British English is just
else?
delightful.
It's a Doctor Who reference. Come on.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's delightful. Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's stuff. Big ball of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's. I mean, does Vaermina actually have to implement, these things in order to influence, the Arbic dream, I suppose you could call it? Stuff outside of her realm? I don't know. Speaking of her realm, the Quagmire is an interesting word for it.
Yeah.
Well, isn't a quagmire something involving water? And if water is memory, like, it kind of
It's
makes
a bog.
sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a word for a swamp or a bog or somewhere for you to get lost in is the idea. Something
Lost in the sauce of memory, and memory was birthed from a traumatic event. So...
exactly. Doctor's saying exactly the same thing in chat right now. Yeah. Oh, hey, it's Andrew.
Hey!
Yes.
Hello,
Sorry,
sir.
The four corners of the House of Troubles is complete.
What am I?
Oh wow, I actually really like that. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, who gets to be who?
Who's who in the four corners? And I just saw the kid come in. He's like, nope. Lore Pup says my time has come.
Yes.
Oh wait, no, never mind.
He's back from Dogwarts.
There you go.
I'm actually really glad you're here because I think we were just starting to run out of steam, so I want to hear if you got any ideas.
Yeah.
What have we covered? Gosh. About Vaermina, not much. What we've covered is everything but.
Okay, that's not true. We've covered the nature of her realm, her relevancy, her importance to it, and then exploring those concepts therein. I'd say that's a fair bet.
Have we
So-
talked about her association with Dagoth?
A little bit, like I kind of
Ish.
touched on it, especially
pretty
with
sure- I'm pretty sure
the
Kirk
whole like
Bride
Dagoth and dreams and Hersene's dreams and Blood Moon.
Yeah,
We
'cause I'm-
sort
I'm-
of touched on it.
Because I'm sure Kirkbride said at one point that Vaermina is the anticipation of Dagoth.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure
I
he's
like
on
that.
record saying that.
Well, we did cover that Dagoth spreads the corpus primarily through dream, or his influence, I should say, through the dream, which is the same thing.
Because the corpus, I imagine, is more like, breaking down the barrier that keeps him out.
I mean,
Yeah.
as Chris called it, it's the clap. So
Yeah, it's Morrowind's clap. Well, I mean, is it in Morrowind or is it in ESO where there's a plot line where you discover that somebody had a one of Dagoth, or it must have been Morrowind, one of Dagoth's little statues, and had placed it underneath somebody's bed, and had sort of like started to convert them. Am I thinking of the right thing? I don't know.
Yeah, that
I think it was in
somewhere
Morrowind.
Was it in
I
Morrowind?
think
Okay.
it was more the reverse. There was like the son of a Redoran counselor who had begun acting funny, and when you go and investigate, he's got an ash statue.
Oh yeah, I know, but I mean, it was somebody who had intentionally planted an ash statue in someone else's bed.
I don't recall that. I mean,
It was a temple mission in Aldrune. Okay, all right.
Thank you, chat.
I'm not
Yep,
into it.
good old chat. And which is an interesting, which says interesting things about Dagoth and how the corpus works, because it's clearly not a normal disease, but it is but because it's so heavily because it depends so heavily on dreams, I could understand why you might think of Vaermina as being, I don't know, the anticipation of Dagoth. That's a little rugged, but certainly related closely to Dagoth. And we sort of covered this already, Andrew, but we did talk a little bit about why Dagoth uses dreams, and the relevancy of the role of dreams in the Elder Scrolls universe in general doesn't align one-to-one with what dreams do in the real world.
Yeah, well, I remember seeing a post at one point on Test Lore years ago, where someone broke down how Dagoth works in terms of dreaming and being alive or dead, and being physically present or something in, between being there's being awake and there's being asleep, there's alive and dead, there's dreaming and not dreaming, if I recall. And so Dagoth is dead but awake and dreaming, whereas normally if you're asleep, you're alive but asleep and dreaming.
Yeah.
It was this whole long thing. It was kind of
Wow.
complicated.
Right,
Yeah.
but isn't it also said somewhere else that there's a subgradient lower than death, which is dreaming in the Elder Scrolls universe? I think that's somewhere.
It's Chim. It's in the love letter.
It's
There you go.
it's Amaranth. It's the subgradient to mortal death is Amaranth.
It just kind of loops back
well,
around.
If I recall correctly,
You are on record. You are on record as saying that.
it is Amaranth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know things. We are qualified.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Just a moment. I'm gonna make sure I wasn't totally fucking wrong.
Yeah.
See, Vaermina's got an association with masks, with snakes. I remember there's a mirror in ESO.
Nope, I was wrong.
What?
You can
I
go
was-
Okay. Fair enough.
Z, mortal death to Z. Z being the state
yep.
after mortal death. Z
Yep.
is the state gradient echo of Mundus Centrex. That's Chim.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you could argue that Chim and Amaranth are so closely related they might be the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Well, one is a step to the other.
or you could
Maybe.
argue that that's what MK was thinking when he wrote that. I don't know. I
Maybe.
mean,
Ask him.
but yeah, I would say maybe. To be kind to myself, I would say, because I do remember saying that Z was Amaranth. I would say, just to be kind to myself, that the state gradient echo of Mundus Centrex, which translates directly to the knowledge of like existing in the state of Chim, it's the state gradient echo. It's the image, the MRI scan of Mundus Centrex, which is the mind of Mundus, which is Anu. Okay.
Yep,
The Godhead.
Yeah.
Yep, gotcha.
So theoretically, that's very easy to say that that's Chim, but to say that if that state exists beyond mortal death, that's another way of saying it's eternal life, and it's another way of saying it's a state that you don't leave, and a permanent state of Chim is easily Amaranth. You know, the whole idea behind Chim is that it's hard to hold. That's why the sigil is constantly changing. You can't stay in the state of Chim. And even Vivek was not permanently chimming all the time. God, that would hurt. It was a state that you achieved and then left by necessity for the same reason that you attain a state of lucid dreaming, but you can't stay there all the time. Eventually, you have to wake up, or you just lose that state. You know, and
True enough, I can speak to that.
yeah, me too. Yeah. It's hard to keep up, and generally I just fucking wake up, and it's very irritating.
I'm
I
trying
hate. I don't you just hate waking up? God.
Well, I'm trying
Without
to fucking sleep
Folgers
here.
in your cup? No.
I get precious little sleep as it is. Yeah, if your chim lasts longer than 4 hours, please consult a doctor. So
Does that
so
count
that's
as a dick joke?
yeah.
Yes.
There's your dick joke.
Okay.
So like. Yeah, I think maybe I could have probably, I know at one point or another I stated that Z was Amaranth, and I think I was probably a little confused. I think it's a cleaner statement to say that it's Chim, but I think you can get there to say that it's both. That it's Amaranth via Chim, if you will, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about Vaermina? Huh? She give you nightmares? I see you barking in your sleep all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
He like runs. In his
Yeah,
sleep.
he does a little paw thing.
Occasionally he has nightmares and he'll startle himself out of sleep and then he'll go hide in the corner for a minute.
Yeah, my little doxie, the young one,
Why do
has,
we give
has
animals
dreams.
nightmares? This is bad.
Well, yeah, but every once in a while, we caught her a couple of days ago wooing in her, like howling in the middle of it while she was sleeping.
Ooh.
It was just a very tiny little woo, and I was like, wow, she is getting in it.
I'm trying to think of other things. I wrote a piece one time about Vaermina for the fan fiction contest that the Imperial Library did a couple years ago. I guess no one liked it because it wasn't related to Skyrim.
Oh well. Yeah, that's always the way, isn't it? Yeah, you want to get that million hit YouTube video, you got to make it about Skyrim.
The Casuels have been called out.
I thought it was pretty good. Dude wakes up, finds out that his family has been murdered, and then he realizes, oh, I was the one who murdered him. And then Vaermina is like, haha, you killed your family. And then he tries to kill himself to punish himself. And she's like, yeah, you don't get out that easy. And then he wakes up and he's like, oh, thank God it was all a bad dream. And then it turns out, oh no, I actually did kill my family.
Yep.
So like it's this kind of meta dream within dream inception Lovecraft.
What a twist!
What a twist! I just freaking love Inception. That's such a great movie. Anyway, I could rant for days about how much I love that movie.
What's the other movie that did Inception, but it was better? Paprika. There we go.
Paprika.
What's it called?
Paprika. It's my favorite Satoshi Kon film and one of my favorite animated films.
Yes,
of all time.
it is animated. I remember this.
Predates Inception by I think
I'm
few
thinking
years, and it is solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that. I keep seeing trailers or something like that for it, and I go, oh, I got to check that out, and then I just forget.
I still got to watch Infection. Or is that what it is? The South Korean one that was like really, really critically acclaimed?
Are you talking about Parasite?
That's it.
Oh,
that's
nothing to do with Inception, but it's very good.
I mean, we were just talking about good movies, so.
Let's see. Anything else about dreams? Considering how incredibly serious Kirkbride was about dreams, and still is, I suspect, Vaermina is probably a Daedric Lord that he probably would have had a lot of fun with.
I mean, it's a shame that she isn't more fleshed out. I mean, we get little bits and pieces here and there, but
I mean, the Skyrim quest was fun.
I think that about like everything.
Compare Vaermina to Sheogorath. Which one do we know more about? Compare Vaermina to Azura. Which one do we know more about? I mean, we don't know a whole lot about Vaermina. It just doesn't have as much exposure as, Hircine or Kafka's Vial or, pretty much any other Daedric Prince.
Basically, we love all the cool, badass dudes and all the buxom babes.
That's because she's a soul hacker and doesn't get out of her basement enough.
It's a basement-dwelling soul hacker.
Stupid beard.
Vaermina's realm of Quagmire, it's literally a little shack by a bog, and it's just her like, quiet, I'm hacking.
I'm in.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
no World of Warcraft raid tonight.
Oh, I opened things. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Since we're on the last Daedric Prince, we should probably wrap this up with some thoughts about the Daedra in general. I think
Unless
first
you want
one,
extra content and make that its own stream.
Yeah, I mean we could. To be honest with you, I could probably go about an hour talking about all the stuff that I'd like, and we could.
I have some ideas about the Atata in general.
We'll probably be doing something like it as a recap because the Gates of Oblivion stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good point. And so actually about that really quick, we don't usually discuss this on the air, but fuck it. Should we do another Dagon cast? Or
I mean, I don't think we have anything.
I don't think we have the material.
Yeah.
I mean, wait until what we see afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. When it comes out, until we get the the CSV of strings from the player test realm.
There you go.
That's always nice.
We can just go through it on PTS and then talk about it.
Which I think we probably should do because we got to get these videos out early.
I mean, as artifacts.
Oh, artifacts! Thank you.
Somebody
in
in chat, literally.
Yeah. Thanks, somebody. Thank you. That's a weird thing to say. Thanks, somebody. Whoever that was. Artifacts. The Skull of Corruption.
Brother of everybody, son of nobody.
Somebody, son of nobody. That's awesome.
You're
so the Skull of Corruption was interesting in the
that.
respect that it creates a clone of somebody. Not of somebody, I mean of a person. I'm confused.
just that user in particular.
Oh,
yeah.
My brain hurts.
The Ebony Warrior. Ha! Take that. Here's somebody.
Yeah. There's a really, really good bad guy in the Big Finish Doctor Who series named Nobody No One. And it's an entity that listens to the language that people use, and when they say something like no one can kill me, that statement becomes true, and the entity Nobody No One can kill that person, or nobody can get in here, and then the next thing you know, whoosh, walks right in. And this becomes a serious problem for the characters in the episode because they have to stop other people from saying Nobody No One. Like they'll say something like, "Is this room secure? Can anybody get into this room?" No one can get into this room. Ah, shit. And then that kind of stuff.
Which doctor is that?
I think it might have been 8. Yeah.
Anyway, artifacts.
Yes. Yeah. Back on track.
8 was McGann, and he just had that movie in like '96.
Yeah, and then he had the most amazing line of episodes from Big Finish that you will ever fucking hear. They are phenomenal.
Artifacts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Just Doctor Who. Hey. I'm gonna TARDIS crashing through my wall over here.
Yeah. Skull of Corruption.
See? There's my TARDIS.
Hey, there it is. Hey, neat. That's actually a good one.
There's the doctor carrying Amy.
Yep.
Very nice.
The orb of Vaermina, which is
you and Shat, I'm nerdier than you.
Gets stolen from various places.
Yeah.
Why would people want to steal it though?
It's a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Why do you steal MacGuffins?
Well,
Yeah.
Because you want it, it's a shiny object. Okay, fine.
Maybe because you wanted to redecorate. I don't know. I can't remember what the I can't remember what the motivation was for the guys who stole it in Oblivion.
And the
'cause
Orb of
you basically
Vaermina
find
was
them-
used by Lord Narfin, then in service of Boethia, to spy on Titus Mede II and his armies. It was recovered by the Forgotten Hero
okay.
from the Emperor's chambers, who either destroyed or
Yes.
kept it.
Yep. But I'm sure it was in The Elder Scrolls 4 because you find this tower that's gone to all hell because basically they're keeping one of Vaermina's artifacts, and I thought it was the orb, and so it's letting a whole bunch of stuff from Quagmire leap through.
That's the first time I'm hearing of it. Or maybe I just forgot because it's been years since I
Yeah.
played Oblivion.
Yeah, I mean I'm hardly any better.
I of course remember some of the quests that stick out, and I remember some of the cities and things, but then otherwise it's like I put hundreds of hours into that game and I can't remember like half of them.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. And
Well, it's just because it was so long ago and it was like random little quests or cave exploring, so I don't remember. Oh yeah, that
And the
random
skull.
little thing. You know.
the skull of something or other
Skull of Corruption?
as well. Skull of Corruption.
It clones the whoever you cast it on, and then the clone attacks the original at the behest of the caster. Legends say that the staff has a mind of its own and can feed on the memories of those around it. So again, we've got the memory and dream connection.
It's creating a shadow. In the Jung sense of the word.
Oh yeah. All right.
Hey,
Sure.
okay.
Shadow self.
Like a nega Scott from Scott Pilgrim.
It's you, but with a goatee. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
the
Terran
Star Trek
Empire
reference for you guys. There's a story about the Thieves Guild master and the skull that is probably fiction. Well then, fuck it. Use the skull on her enemy, creating a clone of him to fight. After defeating the original, the clever duplicate snatched the skull from the master and used it on her. Although the clone enemy could not directly... Interesting. The two clones jointly ruled the Thieves Guild for years. That sounds like a lovely conspiracy theory.
Sounds awesome.
And also from a Jungian sense, defeating your shadow has connotation.
I
Defeat
don't
the
know.
darkness within.
I don't know whether
Well, you're
it's
not
good
supposed
or...
to defeat your shadow.
Exactly. Yes. It's. I wasn't sure whether it was a good or a bad thing because you're basically cutting off part of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
which-
defeating your shadow involves becoming accepting it is what it is. You're supposed to accept it. Has anybody here played Persona 4?
Yes, I was actually about to mention. I was like, which you know,
There you go, baby.
I know we talked about it with Michael Ziegler in the last cast that he was in, talking about, oh, Michael, you would actually really like the Persona game series because it's all about shadows, especially Persona 4, like fighting this sort of darker aspect of yourself, and the only way to defeat it is to come to terms with it and accept it. It's very Jungian. Michael was like, wow. Then we told him about Persona 5, about stealing hearts and changing people's hearts, and how there's sort of like this collective super ego thing
the
at
collective
base of
unconsciousness,
the
yeah.
game. And he was like, all right, I'll have to check it out. So hopefully we'll see a live stream from him playing Persona at some point.
That'd be dope.
And then ruminating on the nature of the universe and philosophy and religion and theology and
I did seriously
psychology.
consider doing a playthrough of either Persona 4 or Persona 5, and then I remembered that those are like 190-hour games.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Play Alan Wake for Chim? Yeah, it is. It is a bit. Yeah. Especially if you play the end of Control. Alan Wake shows up at the end of Control as well. So, yeah. But yeah, it's... Yeah, did you not play Control? The last DLC in Control is basically Alan Wake's ending.
I haven't played that. I haven't played Alan Wake, but also that just reminds me of a game that might be similar, but I haven't played it yet. It's called Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. It's by the same people who did Dear Esther, which I love. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'll need to play Everyone's Gone to the Rapture at some point.
I'm over here playing Baba Is You. Like,
that's a good one too.
I don't know, but I just know that like, just in terms of concept, it sounds like that might be similar to that, but I'm not sure because I haven't played them.
Yeah, for a more lighthearted and briefer experience, you might also try one called There Is No Game. I think that's what it's called, and it's a point and click adventure basically, and it's also a little bit, it kind of chims a little bit, and Baba's finished. Okay. So I mean, that's basically I mean, her Vaermina's artifacts are not tremendously.
No.
I mean, there's not a lot happening there, unfortunately. They're
Yeah.
mostly MacGuffins.
Yeah, they've kind of slapped in. Yeah, let's have a thing. Let's have a
an artifact.
Lady of Nightmares in the Dreamstone sense. If that means
Yeah.
anything.
Oh balls! We need a Vaermina quest.
Yeah.
Orb of something. There. All right. Good
Yeah.
enough. It's it's what do you call them? The Palantir from Lord of the Rings is what they are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do not know who still owns the Lost Seeing Stone. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should probably do a wrap up cast for this. I don't know how long it'll be, but I would like to kind of look at all the Daedra collectively and talk about them just from not just from a design standpoint, but also just their place in Elder Scrolls.
Yep.
And we've also got we've been asked to do another Vivek cast, and I think I would really like to do one. The old one is old.
It's old, and apparently a lot of people were like
Pre-Coda, I
talking
think.
over each other, and
Yeah.
then there's all the new
Sorry,
stuff.
what?
from
People
ESO.
are talking over each other?
I think so. I think that's accurate. Yes. And
I mean, worse than we do.
yeah.
I think we'd be pretty okay as far as the.
Also, I don't know if it is the same case for you guys, but sometimes it's like, I don't know if it's a delay on my end or someone else's end or something, but it'll be like, oh, there's silence, and then okay, I'll go forward, and then oh nope, sorry, someone else go. Like it, I feel like there's some kind of tech issue involved.
Yeah. Zoom's better at that than most, but there's still absolutely a delay. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you're not alone with that. Yeah. Okay. So I think
Yes.
yeah. Well, I will never have a damn. I'm never not going to show up for a Vivek cast. So whatever. Oh,
Also,
quick
you
question.
kind of host the thing, so
What are our beliefs? Complicated.
In terms of what?
yeah.
Um,
like,
I'm trying to
That's
romance
a little
MK into
more
another
serious
lorecast.
question.
I'm not trying to romance MK into another lorecast. He's staying out of Elder Scrolls lore for a while. He'll get back into it when he decides to get back into it.
Yep.
He's never going to turn his back on it, but he's just staying out of it for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has another question. Weird one. Will there ever be a confined lig cast? Oh, is there not enough content? Okay.
I think we need to get Mojo for that one.
I do, but I'm not sure that he'd want to do it. Mojo's also sort of fallen out with Elder Scrolls lore. He was basically given lig by MK to lore up, and he sort of ran out of steam on it. I think.
And Cody and Evan.
Yeah,
They were both.
that's true as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the old school cast guys were very heavily into lig lore. The problem with lig is that you can think of it from a world building perspective, from a project perspective, in two different ways. You can either think of it as, let's do Elder Scrolls like the Arbus, like just the whole Elder Scrolls setting, but let's put a twist on everything and retell it, sort of like restructure it. Or you can look at it as almost archaeological world building, like what was the Elder Scrolls going to be like before somebody triggered that fire alarm. And that's kind of, the latter is kind of more relevant, I think a lot of Elder Scrolls fans would say that what they want to know is what the original Elder Scrolls universe was like. What was it like when they were all sitting around sort of doodling on that map and trying to, and doing world building, but that record does not exist anymore, so there's not really any point. And a lot of what they were talking about made it into Elder Scrolls lore as we know it today.
Well, I mean, because it started as a homebrew tabletop game
Yep.
with Julian LaFay and Vijay Lakshan, and who's it? I don't think Tedders was one of them.
I thought it was.
I have a little list somewhere.
Okay.
That
Also, I think it was MK who shared a while ago this old Castaway promotion art that showed like a hero with the mace facing off against some demon, and then there's three cloaked figures with staffs, and he's like, yeah, and like this would be the
That's the tribunal.
Well, that
It
was before Morrowind was
it?
really in development, and
Right.
Yeah.
It was a
I think it was supposed to be called Tribunal.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Originally
set
the
in
name.
Somerset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so that was very early cover art, I think is what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the box art. And they changed a bunch of stuff around eventually. So I understand that fans really kind of want to know what the original concept was of Lig. I don't think that concept exists anymore, and I think they would be disappointed to discover that a lot of what's in Elder Scrolls now might have been in that concept. To have people sit around and speculate and just world build about like a Elder Scrolls with the serial numbers filed off feels sort of like, I don't know, to me it sort of feels like masturbation. It feels like we're just going to sit here and satisfy ourselves and then nothing's going to come out of it. You know, like at the end of the day, there's not going to be a game. There's not going to be a, you know, thank you, Andrew. And it's just going to be sort of like, whatever. And that's, and so and that might be that sort of like very practical pessimist side of me that made me never really get into Lig. But I want my MK5 Altmer. Yeah.
With the insect wing buildings and trees made of butterflies and poetry walls.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see. What are our personal beliefs are complicated, I think is a good way to put it.
Are we talking about within the realm of Elder Scrolls lore, like headcanon kind of
No,
stuff?
I think they're talking about like real life.
Gotcha.
Before we descend into complete
Yes.
Before we descend into complete incoherence and talk about irrelevant stuff, if you have any questions, please email us at selectiveslorecast@gmail.com, and we will get round to answering the things.
Absolutely.
We are perfectly happy to be fired questions on here and answer them on the fly, but if you email, we can prepare.
Yeah, and I should also mention that if you have a question for us that you don't want read on air, you just want an opinion by email, we'll do that as well. Yep. Just make sure you mention that. Otherwise, we will embarrass you. We have had a couple of emails that we've answered on air that have been very good. So we'd really like to get some more.
That's fine.
Anyway,
and one which is spawning a cast.
Yeah, it is literally. So I think the next cast is going to be the recap, and then we'll move on to I think Vivek, and then I forget what's next after that. But we've got plans.
I've provided that whole list of like other things we can talk about, like Minor, Etata, and other gods like Finemaster and stuff, and do like some mini casts.
What if we do like something about like animals?
We can absolutely have this conversation off air.
Yeah. All right, guys.
To avoid boring all the people.
Everybody wave.
Lots
Bye-bye.
of ideas.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.